Welcome guys, welcome to this video. In this video we are going to create this small Laravel app. So we are getting data from a URL and we can edit this list, so we can basically remove the items, and when I click cross it is going to delete the item, and we can check for if there is any item change on the URL. So we have this URL where we have the data, and that data we are fetching and showing here, and if anything new comes in here, automatically based on the command it is going to be added here too. So for example, if I delete this, and when I delete these each item, it checks if there is any child to that main parent item. If there is, it is going to delete the child items as well. So you can see that and delete it all. Now for example, if I delete these all and refresh, the data is gone. But if we run the command should you run, it is going to get the data from this URL again, and we are going to see the data showing up here. So if there is any changes, any new item added here, automatically those items are going to be here. And this can be done, this is kind of an API, so it can be done on an hourly basis or daily basis. You can set this command so it checks for the data changes and adds here automatically. So I have a brand new project here. I just got it installed here, so we will be building all the components from start. So first of all, if I go to the URL where I have the data here, if we collapse everything, now if I open the first element, we get the label apples, then there is children empty, then second is label orange, children empty. Third, here we have grapes where we have children as well. Now here we have few children. Now here, if I go inside it, we have label muscat, and after that we have children. So here the data I have basically we have fruits, and then we have fruit type, and then we have the wines created from that fruit, and then further we have children here with the further types. You can see that 0, 1, normal, and honeypot. Now here this goes on. If you check for further, the data is complex, bit deep. So what we need to do, we need to create a few models so that we are going to insert data for each of these, and I will be creating it basically for one model for fruit, one for fruit type, then for wine, like we have wine is here, some wine type. Now we can take another approach where we have the parent and then child and that way, but for this sake of this tutorial, I'm going to use the fruit type, wine type. So before starting, let's create the migration so that we have database working according to our needs. So in the database, currently I have Laravel database, which is empty, and in my code editor I already have it set up in my .env file with the username, root, and password is currently I don't have any password. So let's add the migration files. I am already in my terminal in the current directory where I have my project running. So here I'm going to run php artisan command, php artisan make model, and this is going to be fruit model, and I need the migration for it. So I say -m here, I hit enter, it creates the model as well as the migration. Now we can use this migration file to store create table here. Now if we go to the data, we say that we have fruits, apple, oranges, and there is only names and then the children's coming here. So what I do is simply going to create I'm going to go into the code editor, and we're going to get that file. So here in the database migration, and we should have a new migration file, fruit. Now here we need to add another one field. So let's say here $table, and that one is going to be string, because we need to save the name here. So I'm just going to put name, and I'm gonna save this one. Now the same way we need fruit type, because after this we have like inside children we have musket, and then further musket wines made by that. So we need to do that. So here, let's do that. So in the code editor, in the terminal, I'm going to use the same command. This time it's going to be type, and it is going to create a model as well as a migration file. We have a migration file here, and in this migration file we need two fields. So here I say $table, and the first is going to be string, and then this is going to be name, and here $table, and here I'm gonna pass a foreign key, and that is going to be because this fruit type belongs to a fruit, so they're going to be a foreign key here. So I'm going to add here, and I say here fruit. Alright, we save this. Now the same way we need wine, because they are type of wines, and then let's do that. So simply I'm going to create another table. Here it's going to be wine, and here now we are in the wine, so let's create that. Here we need to add $table, and we need to pass string here, and here as well, foreign ID, and it is going to be fruit type. Because it belongs to a fruit type, what kind of wine we are storing, so it's going to be like that way. So here we are going to save that. Now the same way we need to store wine type, that's going to be the last in here, so let's add that too. So here we say wine type. I'm using the camel casing, that's a good practice. So here we add another. Here we have wine type. In here we need to add $table. Basically we're going to store the type, so I would say here string, and I give it a name of type table, because we want a foreign ID here as well, and that's going to be wine because it's a wine type, so it's going to have a foreign ID from the wine table. So this is going to be like this. Now if we go to app and HTTP, in models, we have our models there as well. As this is done, we can run the command php artisan migrate, and it creates the tables for us. So we get all the success here. Now we go into database, and here Laravel, and we see we have fruits, and we have fruit types, we have the wines, as well as we have wine types. So yeah, that's what we needed. So here, if you see, we have fruits, so fruit has ID and name, and if you go to fruit type has name and fruit. So this is a foreign key that refers to the fruit table, and the ID of fruit is going to be there. So we'll see when it works. So now let's say, so we created this. Now it's time to work with our models. So I go into models. Let's delete, cross these files, and let's work with fruit. Here we need to pass public, and I'm going to say fillable, so that we can put values. And here we need to pass values. So this particular model is a fruit, and if we go to the fruit model in here, fruit table, we have a field name. So fillable is going to be name, and fruit type, and let's go here. I'm just going to copy and paste from there, public fillable, copy from there, paste in here, and fruit types has name and type. So we go here, fruit types, so it's a name and fruit. So okay, we need to pass one additional here, it's going to be fruit. Save it. Now the wine, in wine we need to also copy and paste this. We just copy this and paste here. Now the fields we have in wine is name and fruit type. So name and fruit type, and spelling should be correct. So we have correct here. Last is the wine type, where we have type and wine. So we go wine type, where we put this. First is type, and second is wine type. So it's wine type. Save that, and you get, okay, it's type and wine. So the second one is only wine. So we save it this way. Now we're going to define a few relationships here. So we have fruit, and then there are types of fruits. Then we have wine and types of wine. So it's pretty straightforward here. We're going to say public, and this is going to be a function. I'm going to call it fruit type. And here we're going to return $this, and then has many, because a fruit can has many types. And here we are going to say fruit type, and it's a class. And then we are going to say, and second going to be the ID. All right, so this is how it's going to be. So basically here we are saying that, okay, if we have fruit can has many types, and in fruit type table we are referring to fruit, which is referring to the ID in fruit table. So here the ID in fruit table, this is this has a foreign key in fruit type, which is fruit. So that's we are referring here. So this is the foreign key for this ID, and this ID is in the fruit table. So that's how you do it. Now let's create the relationship in fruit type as well. So here we say public function, and then this is going to be wine, because we need this data. Now here I'm going to return $this has many, because here we are checking fruit type can has many type of wines. So we are putting this. So first the class we are going to pass here wine, and it's going to be class, and then the argument going to be fruit type, and then the ID, just a similar way we did before. This is going to work. So this is, we are referring in wine table we have fruit type, which is referring to the fruit type table with the ID. So if I go to wine table, and there is fruit type, we provide it here, and it is referring to ID of fruit type table. So in the ID of fruit types table, which is here. Alright, so we need to create the similar way in wine table as well. So let's do that. So public function, and here we are returning $this, again has many, and here we're going to pass wine type class. Alright, now we need to pass the wine and the ID. And I hope you got the understanding how it is working. In wine type table we should have wine, which is referring to ID of wine table. So let's go in wine type, where we have wine and referring to ID of wine table. Now if you have model different than the names of the model, you can define the name of the table in the model as well. So if you want to, you can do it this way. So it's public, and $table is equal to fruits. So it knows which table it belongs to. So in here, fruits. So we just put that there, that this is the table it belongs to. And then this way you can do any of, if you have the model name different than the way something different name, so you can put this way. Now let's get the data. So we need to create a controller to get data. Here we created the models and we gave the singular names here, and which is a best practice. Now when you create a controller, you use the plural. You need to create a controller here, PHP artisan make controller. It's going to be fruits controller, and we can pause resource if you want to, but I just want to have it simple. So here I'm going to create it, and we have this controller. Now here I'm going to add a function which is going to fetch this data for us. So here let's say public function get data, and here before getting the data, let's create the main view, because currently we have the view file coming from this welcome function here on this route page. So let's create another controller. So here I'm gonna say PHP artisan make controller, and it is going to be home controller. Now here in home controller, I'm going to create a method for main page view. And it is going to return view, and it's going to return home. So currently the file name is welcome.blade. We need to change it to home. And here it's home. Alright, so now it is going to be powered here. Now in the web route, we need to change it and call that here. So here we say home controller. It's a class, and the method it is index. So now it is going to take care of that. So if I go here, refresh, no error, that means it's working. So now in here, because we are going to fetch the data from a URL, for that I'm going to use try and catch, so that we get the error if something goes wrong. So I say try here and then catch. Alright, here we pass exception, so if something goes wrong we can get the error details. So here log, and we want to put error here, set the $E, and inside the exception we get message. Alright, now save this. Now we need to include these, because otherwise it's not going to work. So here on top I say use exception, and the same way use log. Here inside try, if I say, let's say $name equals something, and I'm not putting semicolon here. So if I going to call this function, so let's do that in here. So I'm gonna call fruit controller. Let's go here $fruits. Alright, now to call the function get data. Save this. Let's go and see here, refresh, and we get this unexpected curly brace, and that is because we are expecting semicolon. Now if I go to the storage and then logs, here we have the Laravel log file, and inside if I scroll down it says unexpected error for that semicolon. So you get the idea, we successfully catching the error, and error is coming here, food controller line 16, which is the exact line where this header is. So here I correct this. I'm going to use Guzzle for getting the data. So for that, let's begin. So here I'm going to say new, and it's going to be client. And now it added this class, another class. We don't want this, we want Guzzle to work. So it's E and HTTP. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so this, and we can say as client. So we are calling it there. Here we need to get it. So here we say $client equals this, and $client. Now here we are going to get the data. So here I say request, and inside request we are going to do the get method, and then we are going to pass the URL we are getting data from. So here we are getting data from. So here I'm going to pass this. All right. Now let's see the response. So here, and let's see. So here I'm going to DD to see the response. So here, save, go back, refresh, and we have something here. Now then they're going to be get body, and then they're going to be get contents. All right, now once we do this, it's going to get us some data. So let's see, refresh, and we have here the JSON data that if you see, this is the exact data we have here. So we have, if I zoom here, you can see that we have apples, then children, then oranges. So these data is coming. So let's deal with this data. So what we need to do, as it's a JSON, we're going to decode it. So I'm going to use JSON_decode. We will see the different approaches in coming videos, but for now I'm just going to use JSON decode for it. So just going to pass this, comma, and then true. Now I'm just going to convert it to an array. So I say here data array. All right, now once it becomes array, we can see that. If I go back there, refresh, it should be array now. So you can see that menu items, then we have array, and then each array has the values coming in array format, you can see. All right, now further we need to work on it because we have data in labels. So we need to go one by one. So first we are going to get the fruits, then the fruits types, and after that the further children inside it for the wine and wine types and all that. So here what we need to do here, I'm going to widen it a bit. Here let's get it. So now we need to loop through the data that we have here. So currently if I go and see here, we get these menu items and then the array of 5. So I can just go inside this particular key. So we can say here for each, and then we are going to say $data array, and I'm going to pass this way menu items, and then I'm gonna say $fruit. Now once we have $fruit, we can say here var dump values. So here if I go back here, refresh, and we are getting the value. So you can see we get label apples, so we can straight away access the labels. So here if I put label, we will be getting labels. So here you can see apple, orange, grapes. So for saving, what I'm going to do, I'm going to call the model of fruit. So we're going to say new fruit. Let's call it fruit to save. All right, now what we do, we're gonna use this variable, and here dollar, and we need to set the name because we have name inside the database that we are setting here. So we need to pass that. So this label going to be the names because apples, oranges, those are the fruit names, and we want to save here. So put there. I remove the var dump. We are getting the red line here because we need to include this model. So let's do that. So here we say use app \models and then \fruit. All right, now we have that fruit there, and now we can save it as well. So dollar, and I made a mistake. I give a capital F. Sorry about that. That's going to be fruit to save, and save. Now we should have this fruit getting saved. So if I go here, refresh, and we go here, after so we can see that we're getting the fruit saved. However, we're getting it twice. We get apples here, apples here. We see that why we're getting twice. But the thing is, we are saving the fruits from the first label here. So if I close all the children and only see these, you can see apple, oranges, grapes, bananas. So these are the main entries, and these entries are getting saved just fine. With this code, there is one problem. We are not checking if the value is already in database or not. We're just saving. So if I go here, if I refresh a couple of times, you can see two, 3 times, there are going to be 15 values. So here you can see it added like apple here, and which is not right, and we need to check for it. So what I do first here, I reset the data. So we have till ID 20, I delete this, and I need to reset the ID to 1. So here it is going to start on 21, I set 1. So next entry, whenever enters in data table, set the ID to 1. That's it means. So now currently it's empty. Here I want to check first before putting value in. So here the label, I'm going to put condition here. So first I check if the value is present because we didn't do that before. And here I say fruit model, and here where name equals this, we are plucking the ID, and let's see what we get. So dollar fruit in data. All right, so DD is happening here, so it's not gonna let this save, and this needs to go inside the if condition as well. So if the value is there only, then we proceed to save. So far now it's not gonna work because DD is on the top before it. So refresh, we get empty item, so there is no item there. So what we can do, we can check for it. So what I do here, I'm gonna change this array to array because this is a collection, so we can change it using this toArray method of Laravel. It is going to be array now. So if I save this and refresh, now it's an array, and we can check this if it is empty or not. So here if I say if empty, only then we insert. Alright, so currently it is empty, so it is going to insert this data in that case. So I cut this, paste here. Alright, now it is going to insert the data without any issue, and let's see. So we go here, refresh, go here, we have data. Now I go back there, refresh a couple of times, you can see, now go back there, no new data. It's because it's already present, it's not inserting anymore. Now we added the fruits. Now the time is to add fruit type, and for that we are going to stay in the same loop because this is going to go inside each entry, each fruit, then each sub item. So here let's do that. So here what we do, just outside of this if condition, here I'm going to run another for each, and this for each going to have this fruit, and then we are going to call it as $fruit type. Alright, and here we want to check what values we're getting. So first see what values. So we don't need to worry about this code because it's just gonna only insert once, because we are checking it. It's not going to insert any time again, because only if the data new, then it works. So we can concentrate on this part now. So if I go here and refresh, we can see we're getting the values. Let's see in a proper way. We are not getting it right there. So I say here echo, and we put pre. Alright, so refresh. Now we can see here we have one empty array here, one empty array here. Then we have array where we have data. So if we see the data here, you can see here we have empty array, here we have empty array, and here we have data. So in grapes we have data, in banana it's empty array, in plums we have array with data. So that's the way it is happening. So we have here in grapes we have data, and then we have data here. In bananas it's empty as well. So we need to filter, and only where we have data we need to pass that. So here I say if is array, as those values are array. So we are checking if the values are array, and count of those values. So if count is going to be 0, this statement won't work, because if requires 1 or any bigger number than 1, so count should be 1 or more. So we are going to pass these fruits in there. So it is going to filter and going to provide us only the values where we have data. So here you can see, I save this, go back there, refresh. Now we have the arrays with data. The empty arrays are gone. So now we can look for these labels, and these are the fruit types. So we can save these. So let's see. So here what we're going to do, because it is inside a further, you can see 0, then label, and then 1, then label. So we need to go inside more. So we need to do one more for each. So here for each, we pass fruit type as fruit type item, and then here we can check something like the way we did here on top. So we are going to check, let me copy the same condition here, just gonna paste here like this. Instead of fruit, this time it is going to be fruit type item. So you're getting the point where we are just going to get the fruit types this time. You go back there, refresh. So you can see that fruit types are here. These are the fruit types. If I expand this, we have Malbec, we have Zolaris, and if I go here, you will see those names here. So let's do that. Let's save these in database as well. So we have fruit type model, and we have name and fruit value there we need to fill. So let's do that here. So we say okay, go to fruit type, and here first we can create an object for it. So here I say $fruit type object. Alright, so here we're gonna pass the values. So first is name, which is going to be this name, because this is the name of fruit type. As we are checking here, so there's going to be always some value there. Now also we need to pass the fruit ID. which fruit it belongs to. So we are still inside master loop, the main fruit loop here. So if you see here, you can see that fruit loop here. It's going, the main one, and inside this fruit loop we are here for fruit type. So up here, when we are in fruit type loop, if you remember, we have saved here a fruit. So when we save inside the database, we can get the ID of it. So we can then get that ID just like this. Once you save it, you just simply get the ID like this. So this way we can get the ID. And here it's going to be fruit. This fruit is basically coming from the database. So fruit items, name and fruit. And this ID is coming where we are saving this. So you can say that the variable name is same, fruit to save ID. You can say getting there. Now we're going to save this as well. So here, save. Now if is fine, it should do the trick. Here I can add a comment, saving fruit. Alright, let's see if we are saving this data or not. Here, refresh. Let's get Laravel log. We have fruit to save undefined variables. Okay, it is not adding the data, and that is perfectly fine because that is how it's supposed to do. Because what is happening when the loop runs, it checks if there is data in database. If it is empty, then you create this variable and save the data. Now here, this variable that we have, fruit to save, the same variable we are using here. But as the database has previous saved data, this empty statement is not firing. As it is not firing, it is not inserting any data or not setting this variable. So this variable is not getting set, so we can't use the ID. So what we need to do in this case, so what I do simply to make this work, we simply go here, we go in fruits, we're going to check all and make sure this table is empty. So in operation S1, and in fruit types, this is empty too. This time when I refresh, and this should have fruit types, you can see. And the same way we have fruits. So this time it worked because this time it saw, okay, there is no data in database, add the data, create this variable created, then this variable being used here. So this process, if there's new value only inserted here in the fruit, then it is inserting that ID here. Now that creates a problem as well, because if we don't have a brand new fruit, but we might have a new fruit type we want to save, how we are going to save it? Because if it is empty, it is not going to create this variable, and we are not going to get any ID. Because we want to make it this way, any new value comes, either it's a fruit or it's a fruit type or it's a wine type, whatever comes here, any children or parent value changes, it should save in database, in the relevant table. So for that, what we need to do in this case, if the values are already present in the database, then it is fine. But we need to work on the current fruit ID as well, because if we don't have this ID, in that case we need to use that ID. So what do we do in that case? I'm going to put an else statement here, and in the else statement we are going to check for this fruit in database. So let's check that. So I copy here and put DD, because this time we have fruits in database, you can see, and we want to check okay, if this is now empty, fire this, but we need the fruit ID. So let's find out the fruit ID. So refresh. So we get array 0, 1. So 1 is the fruit ID. Now how we get this value? So here, what we do, because we are going to get each time a single fruit ID, I can look for, so what I do, I remove this to array from here. We can use to array here for counting. Now let's see what this becomes. So here, refresh. This is a collection of 0. So here we can say one. So alright, so the first element is 1. So in this case, the fruit ID becomes this. So we say fruit to save. We need to create a variable here. So I'm going to say fruit to save ID. It's a brand new variable, and I'm going to put this value in that. Alright. So either it is going to get the value from there or value from here, and here we're going to pass this way. So if we have value from ID here, get from there, otherwise get from there. So it's gonna work. So what I do to check this if it is successfully working, I'm going to remove the fruit types, all of these. I'll set the ID to 1, so it starts from 1 when it adds a new record. And in fruits, I'm not going to change anything. Fruit types still have some data. Let's delete this. Operation 1. So fruit type is empty now, and fruits has data. So we want to add the fruits, fruit types without adding fruits this time. So let's do that, and refresh here. Go back there. So we have fruits and we have fruit types. So this time we got the ID from here, from this spot, and that ID we processed. Now we added the fruit ID. Now we need to deal with the wine. Now this is going to be one more level deep. Now if we go to see here on URL, you will notice that we have apples, orange, grapes. So first children is this array. So these five elements, and here we have the names. Now it is inside it that the wine names. So you can see that it is going more deep. So for that, what we need to do, we need to go and work in this loop, the fruit type loop, and there we're going to look for wine. So here, just after this if statement here, I'm going to get the work with the saving wine data. Now before saving that, we need to check here if we already have the fruit type saved, because the same way we did here, we haven't checked for this. So let's do that too. So here we simply say fruit type where name equals the plug ID fruit in database. So here we're going to check the fruit type in database. Alright, so here I'm going to put the condition if empty into array, then save this. So we're gonna pass this there. Alright, so it's going to save only if we don't have fruit types in database already, otherwise not. Okay, semicolon missing here. All good. So now let's deal with the saving wine here. So for this we need to use the fruit type variable, because inside it we have the wine. So let's do that. So here see for each call here wine, or you want to call it fruit wine, whatever variable name you want to give it. So the similar way, I want to check if is array and $wine, and also if count returns 1 or more, because we don't want any empty array inside it. So here we say $wine, and we can var dump this. I save this, go back there, refresh, and we got some error. Laravel log for each item must be an array object string given. Okay, so here we are checking the array in this condition, and here we can pass that if it is array and has value, so inside this if we can run this for each. So I'm just going to cut this from here. I'm going to put in here. So this time the value is going to be array and an array only, and there are going to be some values as well. So this error won't come again. So you can see now we have data. Now let's see this data. Let's add here echo pretty. Refresh. You can see that we have array, we have straight away label here. We can see that, then the children for their data there. There we need to check for the wine, which is here inside it, and because we already have the fruits and fruit types, now we are working with wine, so we need to check for this particular value. If you see the children here, if the children has value, so here this children array is empty, here it is empty, here it is empty, so only on this array we have values. So let's check for that. Instead of getting the count of wine, I'm going to pass here children like this, so we will have some value there, and here we are going to print again var dump $wine, so we should be having the only wines, and the empty array should be gone now. So now you can see we only have these, and the empty data is gone. So now we can save these wines as well straight away. So for that, what we do, we simply use the model again. So here I create new wine $wine. If I go to the wine model, we have name and fruit type. These two values we need to set. So I say here name, which is going to be equal to the name of, here we go here, we have label here. So we need to get this value. So first we need to loop through here. Let's do that. So let me remove this for now. And here for each $wine as, and you will see here we need to look through the children. Yeah, and there here we have children. Then we are going to save the wine. We say $wine item. Now I say var dump here, $wine. A bit complicated or confusing, but once I will provide you the zip of this code, you can check and see the code there. So you can see that we have labeled straight away about the wine name. Now I'm going to just use this label for it. So here, let's call it label, so we will have the wine names. So you can see we have the wine names. Alright, so let's save these wines the way we were saving before. So here I say new wine. Previously I forgot to add this one, this step. So we got a bit confused there. Here, semicolon. Then we need to add the foreign key, fruit type. Now for fruit type, we need to get the ID. So here we are saving the fruit. We can get the ID of this fruit ID, and we can pass that ID. Now here again, same thing applies. If we don't save any new fruit type, we're not going to get this ID. So we need to run the else just like this, and it's going to work just fine then. So what we do here, we are just going to put else. Alright, and here the same way, the way here we called, I'll just copy this straight away, paste here. So here I say $fruit type to save. So I'm maintaining same way of names, so it's going to be a bit easy to understand. So I put here this data and the first value. So it's going to provide us that. So I'm just going to remove this line now. So we have the fruit type ID here. So either an ID from the save, or if we are not saving, we already have it. So get that one. So it's gonna get from there. Now we need to import this wine. So let's import it as well. So here use app models and then wine. Now let's see. So currently in our database, let's comment this one. So in our database currently we have fruits, we have fruit types. If I go to wines, we don't have wines, so we just want to add wines. So if I refresh here, go back there and do wines, again we don't have anything. Let's see why. Okay, why? Because I forgot to add a save statement, so we need to add here. Sorry about that. So it's simply save statement. Now I'm just going to save it. So let's see if it is saving or not. So go there, wines, we have wines. Now you can see we have again the issue of repeating. So for that we need to put validation. So let's put that. So if I say here simply, now the thing is we're getting the IDs just fine as well, and we are going to display all the data at the end as well. So here if is set this label, all right, then we want to do this, but before doing it, just the same way, we want to check something like this. So just copy that statement to save time, and here, now here we are going to check for wine, and we are checking name because we are saving name if it is equal to wine item name. So this variable pluck ID, and then it is going to be wine in database, and wine in database. Alright, so here we want to check for count. I'm just going to copy the same statement here. And I'm going to pass this. So this is empty, then we are going to save brand new. Alright, so we just going to cut this, paste here. Now again we need to put here else. Else we want to set a variable like this, so it's going to be $wine to save ID, which is going to be equal to this 0. All right, so we just sorted the wine issue. Now the final thing is the wine type. If we go here, you can see we have wine here, then go further, we have this and further children saying normal in pot. So this we need to deal with now. So let's see. This is the wine item. So let's get here. I'm going to simply var dump wine item, save this, go there, refresh, and we have label in the children. You can see. Let me bring back the prey tag here and refresh. Now we can see here that we have wine, then children, this empty array, then we have wine, and then children, the type, and then the wine, then empty array children. So here we have the values, so we need to filter here as well. So what I do, come into the prey, and here we are going to loop through. So, all right, and count, so that we have, there is some values, it's not empty. So if this is the case, you want to see, here we have the values, and here I can comment, see. Alright, let's see there, refresh. Okay, we have the prey back, save, refresh, and you can see we have only the one wine which has the types, so there is no empty array. So let's comment this and let's save this. So here we need to further save the values. So we have we need to go inside children, and there we need to loop. So let's go. So here we say type item, and here when we are inside it, we can check for label, because here if we go, we can see again labels, so we can check for label. So here simply if is set, and I put $wine type item, and I pass the label, and there I one final check to make sure we're getting right. So var dump, and I just put this variable label, so we should get the both names one by one. So let's see, go there, refresh, and we get normal and pot. So we're getting the names here. So let's deal with this. So we need to save this. It's a wine type. So what we do, we call the model. So wine type, and here it's a new object. So $wine type object, and here we have to save the values. So here the first value is type. So if I go, and we need to save this as type as this name. If I go to wine type, we have value type and wine. Wine is a foreign key. So okay, so we put this. Then we have wine type object again, and wine. Here we put the foreign key, and that is going to be wine to save. So it's going to be $wine object first, because we just saved the wine, or we want to pass wine to save. I need this one. Any of this if present, do this. So do save. So here I say just get this, paste here, save. Alright, now we can remove this. Now this time, if everything is working just as expected, we should have wine type saving as well. So if you see here in the code, you will notice we have now fruits, there is data, fruit type, there is data, we have wine, there is data, Now this is repeating data. We already corrected it for wine, so we're gonna check that again in here. Wine type. Wine type also have data now. To simply check this wine type data and refresh and go back there. Yeah, data just coming fine. So we need to also put the check here because it's keep on adding it. So if I refresh again, that problem is there in wine type. That's the reason it inserted when I was just printing the names. So let's stop that. So here we say wine where type is this label, block ID. All right, and it's going to be dollar wine type or wine type in database. Alright, so here we simply check if empty wine type to array. Now here we need to pass dollar, and here if only it is empty, then insert. Now we don't have any further label data other than this, other than wine type. So we now don't need to go any further. So it is going to sort out all things for us. So if it is empty, only going to insert then. So now if I refresh this, and yeah, it's not going to add anymore. So we don't have anything. Okay, we might have an error. So it says column unknown type where clause. My bad, I used wine here. It's going to be wine type. That's the reason it was giving error. So if I go back and refresh, and you can see that it's not inserting anymore. So yeah, that's perfectly working now. And what we can do now here, we can put some status. So what I do here, I simply print a string and I say, see how we can see if this data fails or saves, like if every hour user saves it and or every minute saves it, how that's gonna work, because currently it is just saving. So we need to work with the commands here. If I go to app, and here I'm gonna close these folders first. There is console, then there is kernel.php. Here if you go in schedule, you will see commented schedule by Laravel by default. Here we can use some logic to make our command work. So either you can create a command, or you can do is you can call this function as we have this function working for. And let me add here comment. All right, now we need to call this function. So when I go to the kernel.php, and here what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna remove that comment here. I'm just going to say here $, and we're going to use the schedule. Then I'm going to call here call, and in call we're going to pass a function. So it's going to be function, and this function, what it is going to do, it is going to fire every minute. So when we run the command, if we fire every minute, we can see the results. So for that reason, I'm going to do every minute. You might want to fetch data every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every hour. You can set here for every hour. You can see here hourly. You can even set midnight, and you can check the Laravel documents for that. So to call this function, we need to call the controller. So I say here controller, fruits controller, and then we are going to say call the function. So here there are two ways to call this function. Currently this is non-static function. So if you want to call it statically, you can call it like this: get data. And this is going to work, but currently it will say it is not static function. You will say non-static method, and get data should not be called like that. So if you want to call it this way without making it static, you say new. You're just creating an object here, and like this, and this way you can call non-static function. But what I'm going to do, I want to make it static, so let's make it static. So here, save this. Now it's non-static, go there, so it's going to be static. So just add this static keyword here and go back. You will see that this error controller name, that's it. So here we call it a function. All right, so what we do, I'm going to call the command now. So let's go to the terminal, and here clear PHP artisan schedule run. So just running the schedule. After that, data inserted command is coming here. Now we're not going to see anything currently in database because we already have the data present. So what we do, we delete this data. So run the command again. It is done. Now you can go and check. You have fruits, fruit types, you have wines, and wine type. Now the next thing is we need to display this here. For displaying it, we are going to use the relationship. If you remember, initially I defined the relationships here. We have wine, we have wine type, and here we are currently just getting this, calling this function. We're going to remove that, and here I'm going to add the try catch again. So try. So this is going to add the message. Now let's add try statement. I'm going to pass the view. So let's do that. So as a dollar fruit is equal to fruit, and here the rest we are going to get with relationships. So here say fruit type. So if I go to fruit model, we have fruit type. So there, and where is it? Home controller. They're going to be wine, and they're going to be wine type. These are also the relationships. If you go to wine, we have wine type, and fruit type we have wine. So we are getting there. So these are the relationships. Now I want to get the data in order. So order by, and let's say get. All right, now let's see what we get here. I'm going to cut this line of code. I'm going to put here, and here we can pass with, and we can say we are passing fruits data, and then dollar fruits. Okay, now fruits we don't have here, so we need to include it. So I say it's a fruit, and I dd here first, fruits. And let's see what data we're getting. Refresh, and in white screen that means we might have some errors. And we can call to undefined relationship fruit, the spelling mistake. So this is the benefit of using try catch. You can get the error straight away in Laravel log. So here you can see I use the wrong relationship. Now here refresh, we get the data, and we get the data like this. We have apple, and we have banana. Now if I go inside, you can see that we have relationships here, fruit type, and there's nothing inside it. So here in grapes, in relationship we have fruit type, and then further we have fiber inside it, variable. Let's see in the view page how it looks. So go to the homeblade.php. Refresh. Currently it looks like this. Alright, so in the HTML I just copied this code. I did it behind the scenes so that we can save some time here. All I'm doing is I'm just checking if the fruits, then I'm getting that fruits and putting in an array. The further, if there is value present, if there is fruit type value present, then I'm printing the value, the further loop going inside and printing further values, just like that. So if we go to the page, it looks something like this. Now if you notice, we have crosses in front of it, but these crosses are not working currently. So if I go here and here you can see I added an anchor link, and there I'm passing a URL. So I created this delete fruit, and then there is the fruit name, and then X only. That's it. So currently it's not doing anything. So let's make it work. So here, if I go to any of these, click this, it goes to not found and delete fruit apples. And if I go to delete here, delete fruit bananas, 404 not found. So we need to create a route for it. So in the web.php, here I'm going to say deal, and this is going to be another get route, and here we're going to do delete and delete fruit. Now the third one is going to be the fruit name, which is going to be dynamic, so we can call it like this, fruit name, and then comma, we need to call the controller. In array, I'm going to call the fruits controller, as that is the one which is dealing with this. So, and then destroy method. Currently we don't have that method there, so let's go back there, and I am going to create it. So we have destroy, and this is the function which is going to destroy the each item whenever we're going to delete. And here we can get the $fruit name. So the one we are getting here in the dynamic rule. So here, if we are getting it right or not, we can check it just by printing this. This for now. We see the value we are getting. So let's see there. Now if I refresh here, we have bananas. So we get bananas. If I go to apple, we get apples, and we go grapes, we get grapes. Alright, so here it is capitalized first letter, and here in the view file I added the string to lower to make it lowercase, and then pass it inside there. So now here what we need to do, we need to run a query. We are getting the fruit name, so we can pass this variable straight away here. So what we're going to do, we need to get the value first. So I'm going to say with fruit type wine type. Alright, so we simply say get. And here I'm going to say $fruit. Rice is single fruit maybe, because we will be working on each fruit each time. So here, now what we can do, we can say here first delete this fruit. So we say fruit where delete. This is going to delete it. So removing after this, removing as $fruit item, and here we need to check what we have here basically. So I'm going to, because otherwise it's going to delete all the fruits, so I'm just gonna check what happens, what this fruit item has in it. Alright, let's see, go back there, refresh. Sorry about that, I need to click on that. So here we have this DD, and the fruit data is there. So So you can see that we have further data as well for that relevant fruit data. So here what we need to do, first of all, we need to get the fruit type. So here, if you see in here, we have fruit type relationship, so we can call it straight away. So what I do, if I pass here simply fruit type, it should give me the value. Let's see. So we have the value, so we can work with that. So if we say here, if this value is present, again I'm gonna for each, we need to have fruit types, and we're gonna pass here, and then as $fruit type, and then here we're gonna say we want to get the names of each fruit type. So here we say if, and we know that inside the fruit type we have a name and fruit, so we know we can get the names. So here I simply check for that. So I say here name, and we need to check if the name is present. Now if the name is present, we can delete it. So we can say fruit type and delete it. Now I'm going to comment it, because if I do this, don't do this, it's going to delete the data straight away and we won't be able to check it. So what I do simply to demonstrate it, we are going right, we simply dd here, fruit type name, so we should have names there. So refresh, you can see the name there. So we are getting the right data. Now we need to work with wine. So for working with wine, what we need to do, we need to check wine, because we are passing wine here, so we can just the way we call fruit type, we can call for wine this time. For wine, we can get here, we can say for each wine. Yeah. Now here we can check for it. Now we need to check for this too, because sometimes there might be no data present, so this might give error. So if is set this only, then go further. Let's say if is set $wine name. All right, here we say or just dd here, refresh, and we have wine name. So if we have wine name, obviously we can delete it as well. So we can call the model. So we say wine where name equals $wine name and delete. Now again, I'm going to comment this one, otherwise it's going to delete straight away, because we want to check further, and then we will be deleting that. So here let's deal with the wine type. So here again I put a check here, if it's set $wine, and we want to pass here wine type, because in the relationship that's the one we are calling. So here, now once we have the wine type, what we want to do, we want to for each again. So we pass here $wine type as $wine type, and I believe we should be getting the name here, the type of wine. So here if I put here $wine type, and database we have field with name of type instead of name for wine type, so we put it this way. Now go back there, refresh, we have normal, so you get the idea, we got the value. So here we can say wine type where, alright, so it should delete it. Now at this point, if you want to set some notification, you might want to put these variables, or might want to stage wise do these things, but for now I'm just going to uncomment these so that we can delete all these values straight away. So here I'm gonna save this and gonna go back there and refresh. Okay, so when we delete data, we need to redirect the user, because it's not gonna work otherwise. So here, once this all is done, here I'm gonna say return redirect, and here redirect to home page, and here we want to send it with a message. So here I say success, and here we say data deleted successfully. Let's save that. Now if I refresh, we get data deleted successfully. Now looks better. Delete banana, brings it back. Data deleted successfully. Grapes, oranges, plums, no data there. Now if I run the command again, go back there, we have data again. So if any new data comes, it comes straight away here. Now one more thing we need to check, that is it sorted, because here if you say we have M and then we have Z and then we have N, which is not sorted. So one way to sort is doing the through the models. So if you want to sort it through the model, then it's going to be the shortest in this situation, but we are going to improve this code anyway in further videos. So let's do that. So I go to model, so I go here fruit, and here where you define the relationship, here you say order by, here we pass the field name. So I say here name, and I say ascending order. Now the same way I'm going to pass in other relationships as well. So type, we have wine, I'll do that too. Let's go back here, refresh, and the relationship is wine type, and if you go in the wine type, you will see type there, so it needs to be type, not name. So save that way, go back there, refresh, and now you can see everything is sorted. We have M and then we have Z at the end. So yeah, it's working as expected, as it should. So hope you like this. The code for this video, link is in the description, you can check there. And we're going to improve this code for performance and from Laravel standards and using Laravel helpers and more things we're gonna do. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.